Today we are celebrating 70 years of the formal education exchanges in Sri Lanka. I say formal because it goes back much earlier. The first exchange was when the American missionaries came to Jaffna, and that imprint is there even today. Second was when Colonel Olcott came to Sri Lanka. That's another imprint both in Sri Lanka and to a lesser extent in the USA. The next in the 20th century was when President Woodrow Wilson, declared at Versailles the 14 points, which also guaranteed independence to the colonial states. It was followed in World War II by the 4 freedoms given by President Roosevelt. So out of that war, Sri Lanka gained independence. And Sri Lanka and US had strong links in during World War II and became an independent nation. It's on this that we have built our relations. Our relations are not only based on education and culture. There's economic assistance, there are political issues on which we stood on the same side, science, technology, many areas. But I would say the foundation is the educational exchange that has taken place, especially with coming into effect of the Fulbright Commission. We have had, as you said, about 3,000 scholars from Sri Lanka and from America that's come here in different areas that everyone has worked. And they have made a big impression on Sri Lanka. They have enriched our society and made our culture that much more vibrant. So you are talking of those who have come and made an impression. Yes, you talked of Dr. Bandaranaike. No, she is going to be needed because we are going to modernize agriculture. And as I said on the Monday, this is the start. Find the land, modernize agriculture. Today we had a discussion with some of the Singaporeans of growing food for those island nations and the Middle East, which hasn't got really the food resources or the backup that we require. And when you say Davis, I was anyway going to talk to you about Davis University, the best in California for agriculture, with a good record on what you did with wine and made Napa Valley very famous. Nevertheless, we've had many others. I remember Mr. Veragoda, Cabinet Secretary, who had been at Davis earlier. So that's one of the universities which we will hope to collaborate with. As you know, we are working with some of the other universities trying to collaborate in the Californian university system. So these are some of the links that we've had going into these areas. I have not been a Fulbright scholar, but I have had the occasion of being in one of the prestigious universities, the MIT, and I can see the amount of knowledge that can be absorbed. So there will be far more than that, and we'll need far more scholarships as far as modernizing agriculture is concerned. And a new agro-technology university, which will come up, which will combine the TRI, amongst others, to work with some of the American institutions on how we upgrade our research. As far as English language is concerned, as the minister knows, our next 10 years are going to focus a lot on English and how we train the teachers, how we train the trainers. That's a big project. And certainly we will be starting on it, and we'll have to depend on the Fulbright scholarships at assistance at that time of getting counterparts from America down here. So thank you again for this association. As far as I am concerned, the first time I heard the name Fulbright was not in regard to the scholarships. That was as I was in the university, when the Vietnam War was at its height. And most of us here were not for the South Vietnam government for different reasons, including the fact that persecuted the Buddhists. And that was one of the big issues throughout the country, as Mrs. Gunasekar, who was one of my lecturers, would be able to testify. So here was William Fulbright, a senator from US, in the same party as Lyndon Johnson, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, opposing the Vietnam War, calling in for a settlement. So we used to follow what he said. And he became a figure. I sort of followed him till he quit politics somewhere in, I think, mid-70s. He was becoming more center. He was representing a southern state, deep south, I think, no? Arkansas, he was representing, which was becoming more right-wing. So they parted company at that stage and he went back to civil life. But as we were in the university, we heard of the Fulbright scholarships that were available, the Rhodes scholarships and the Fulbright. But Fulbright had expanded, and amongst the people that you mentioned, the alumni is one Secretary General, Brutus Gali. But more than that, you scored a good 6, I think, when you got the British Prime Minister as a Fulbright Fellow. Sunak is from Fulbright and from Stanford, and I think he met his wife there. Now just imagine, the first scholarship was Rhodes scholarships. And there's no British Prime Minister who is a Rhodes scholar. But there's one who is a Fulbright. So you got one over UK. You are giving it back to them. But there are a large number of them who have come through, and it's been one of the most successful programs I have seen in diplomacy. And it's done more to cement relationship between America and the rest of the world. So I don't want to take any more of your time, but to quote a few words which William Fulbright said when he started the Fulbright scholarships. It was a simple one. He thought that the part of the money left from selling all the war material after World War II could be used for scholarships. And he said, to bring a little more knowledge, a little more reason, and a little more compassion into world affairs. Thank you, Fulbright. Thank you, USC.